Good morning, good evening, good night, whoever you are, wherever you are. Welcome to my channel. I invite you, Daddy Knows Best, social commentary, and understanding the world at large. That's what this channel is about. Today we'll be discussing Red Pill, a search for dating advice turns into radicalization, from CNN. First off, this will be a fun discussion because anything can become radicalization. You can decide to become a better chef, come on YouTube, learn how to, cook filet mignon, and next you're the butcher. So we're going to see how they decide to twist this, how they decide to make this something dangerous or something problematic. That's what they're going to try to do here today. And again, I do have some beef with CNN, so this is going to be fun, and I'll make a video about CNN. But let's jump into the video here today. Let's not waste any time. So, okay, the following video contains dangerous. This is scary. And they're going to do the dark man method, where a little shadowy figure.
I was able to get a girlfriend for the most part.
Okay, so he's able to get a girlfriend for the most part. She was nice. So it's setting this up. It's ambiguous. It's uncertain.
She was nice and didn't quite work out.
That doesn't explain anything about their relationship, how they met, and what he chose to do, what affected the relationship, what she chose to do.
I had blamed myself.
Okay, this is a really interesting discussion, and critical thinking, blaming yourself. There is accountability. I mean, it takes two to tango. It takes two people to have any type of relationship or interaction. So certainly you're partly responsible, but who's more responsible is kind of how a lot of people frame things, so they can say it was somebody else's fault. But it's good to figure out what you could have done better potentially. But a lot of men blame themselves because the burden of responsibility is always on them. There's no doubt about that. I doubt that they're going to talk about that men have a lot of social pressure, a lot of responsibility, and that they are the ones under a lot of obligation to perform, make society happy, make women happy.
Simultaneously blamed her, and I couldn't get any guidance from my friends or my family.
That's true. You often can't get any guidance. Fathers are not in the home generally at all, or if they are, they're simply not there for their sons, not helping them learn life skills, not teaching them to, the cliche of building a house, but yeah, building a house, building their life, building a career, building a skill set, and whether it be working with their hands or working on a computer in our kind of new technological age, men aren't being taught much of anything besides telling them not to be energetic, telling them not to run, telling them not how to use their bodies, and hyping them up on putting them on drugs. So
about this, and I Googled how do I get my girlfriend back. I was just that.
It's funny enough, I see that a lot. A lot of people, that's how they first how to cope, or they don't want to give up on a previous relationship, especially if you've invested time and effort and money. Imagine how much time, effort, and money a lot of these men put into relationships. I've been put on hold, the waiting game, long distance / people put me, it wasn't exactly the friend zone even, they just led me on. It was like I called them a couple times a week, and it felt like you were in a relationship, like you had a girlfriend, for 6 months. And we'll talk about that in another video.
He was a regular guy with
he was distraught. He had some emotion. Is that
some
a
relationship issues, but he entered a place, a frame of mind.
Okay, they're making this really scary.
He rejected what he was told about society.
A lot of culture.
Okay, is that necessarily a problem? I mean, every single social movement, any type of interaction, feminism, reject what you once knew. It's in Star Wars. You have to forget what unlearn what you have learned. Yoda.
They look for people who are in transitional periods of their lives.
Okay, so that does have a they're going down the rabbit hole of immediately saying this is radical. Yes, cults do find people who are vulnerable. Religions often find people at a weak point. They lost a family member, recently had a funeral, somebody's trying to recover from an addiction, somebody feels like they're hopeless, or whatever the situation is. Somebody feels like they need help, they need support, you know, and it comes from some of our basic needs and basic wants. So they're trying to twist that, like compare Red Pill to a cult. And there is no leader of the Red Pill. There have been people who have been influential and been called the daddy of you know, Red Pill, but they never claimed to be, like John Likas never claimed to be Red Pill, never discussed that, and never claimed himself to be, you know, some big leader of a movement or anything like that. So they've already gone down the rabbit hole. They've already jumped down it with little to no explanation.
As soon as they see their vulnerability, they take it.
A search for dating advice can spiral into political radicalization.
Okay, no explanation. What is political radicalization? How are you going to define it? And how is it a problem? How is it not a problem? And are you not going to discuss any of the actual men's potential issues or problems and what they're going through and how we can actually help them? I highly doubt it.
Was it just that you felt lonely or misunderstood?
Combination of both. That was essentially like my gateway.
Oh yes, so scary. I wonder how much they paid this guy for this interview. Again, to have this set up with this like no face type of interaction, where they do this for an intentional reason. Look, you can't see his face. It's in a dark room. It seems scary. It seems ominous. They muffle his voice. You know, they could use all kinds of different methods to make his voice more pleasing, or change his voice into a different voice, but they have to use that muffled, you know, type of old technology.
Drug into the whole concept that feminism was my enemy.
Okay, well, that's a discussion. Why not? Are they going to discuss why feminism was your enemy or not? Let's talk about that.
So what happened to him?
Our world has become a chat room. I think in many ways we have become our avatars.
Nothing's wrong with chat rooms. So now they're going to attack the anonymity of chat rooms and the free sharing, the availability of information, and they're going to probably want government to step in and figure out who these people are and take away any sort of privacy that you can have on any site. It's almost gone in almost any place. You know, these places like Reddit and Discord were made for people to have free expression of thought. You know, not encouraging them to do anything crazy, but be able to say what they feel about video games, topics, or anything. And now those aren't even free places to discuss anything.
We have become offline the people that we are online.
The definition of truth is shifting. The internet is...
Okay, I mean, are you going to explain what truth, how the definition of truth has changed? If you want to discuss changing definitions, I would like to, CNN, because you and those like you love to change definitions and to serve your purposes. How people see a word or a definition, and that's an entirely different issue. You know, what the Webster Dictionary says and how it's taught in schools, what the word means, versus, you know, what people think a truth is or something is a truth. And I bet they're going to completely disregard the My Truth movement, which they love. And these people, especially body positivity, and I'm not beating down on body positivity. That's a whole nother issue for another day. But these are the same people who are saying, like, my truth, and so they can justify or believe or feel anything they want. But of course, men cannot feel how they want to feel. Men cannot say my truth with their personal experiences. It's their feelings, their experience, and their conclusions, lifestyle, and all manner of things. It's a problem.
It's a gateway that allows us to choose.
That I don't know if that was bad editing or if you were trying to make that scary. They just overlapped the audio. That was pretty bad. CNN, very unprofessional.
Which reality we want to live in.
It was a sense of community, a sense of, brotherhood. It fed into that.
Okay, people want community. People want like-minded people to support them and be able to relate, something that's relatable. I mean, if you found a bunch of people who had a similar experience to you, they're in just about anything, you'd want to be able to learn from them. Maybe you'd want to stick around, maybe you don't, but it's funny how they can act like it's beneficial to some people. Like, you know how people like Hillary Clinton and many others talked about takes a village to raise a child. It's celebrated. Wonderful, beautiful, inspirational. Somebody has a little bit of community here. It's dangerous.
That loathing, that hate, and that anger, and that depression and frustration.
Internet memes break through the screen.
They draw people in with irreverence and irony.
Irreverence and irony. So, if you disrespect the current social standing, that's bad. See, now they can define something as bad if men do it, or red pill people do it, or if quote unquote MGTOW people do it. It's a bad thing if you disrespect authority or oppose them or suggest things are wrong. But if certain people do it, it's a-okay, and they celebrate it on the news, and it's a peaceful protest.
A lot of people will start being ironically racist before they start being really racist.
Oh, now you're going to jump the gun and say racism. Thank you, because I felt like you were going in that direction, and I just joked about it. The red pill MGTOW has nothing to do with racism. The best CNN can argue, or attempt to argue, is that this is sexism, because it's a men versus women's issue. Doesn't include. It's not about race, and I doubt that they're going to actually talk about the black men, who there is a very strong side of MGTOW, who actually are black men and talk about and are able to express and interact with many of their experiences being raised in single mother households, and the hell that they went through. I doubt that they're going to talk about that. Oh no, the black men talking about bad experiences, a bad upbringing, single mothers. Oh no, single mothers are wonderful. I mean, single mothers can be good. Don't get me wrong. There are some wonderful ladies out there, but they're going to demonize this. I mean, do you see the tactics? Do you see the strategy? There's no neutrality here. There's no open discussion. This is propaganda. That's what CNN is. That's what this video is. They're not having a discussion on any of these issues, and they've already thrown a bunch of red flags at you. And at this point, most people are like, I'm not racist, and I personally am not here. Daddy Knows Best channels, I'm not, and I don't want to be, but you're de facto going to agree with this presentation because you're not racist and you don't want to be racist.
This is a story of two realities.
Do you see this like shadow play scary? They're making this almost into a horror.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe.
Yeah, famous
You take
scene.
the red pill.
Very important.
You stay in Wonderland.
So the impact of this was introspection and potential for change, because if you look at yourself and you look at what you can become and you look at what you can change in your personal life and potentially even society, that is the power of that scene and in Matrix, and a huge message from Matrix. And I doubt that they're going to talk about actual social change and with the potential impacts of red pill, and the positives and negatives of, and why they haven't even tried to explain why this stuff even came about. They're not going to explain it.
And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Let's go down the rabbit hole.
Okay.
Blue pill or red pill? It's a question made famous in the 90s movie, The Matrix. And it's never
I almost want to skip this because they've mentioned it twice. I think all of you already know
been
this.
more relevant.
What does it mean to swallow the red pill?
You pretty much accept this quote-unquote truth. That
No, red pill or quote-unquote MGTOW, there's no universal truths. This is not a cult. You don't have to accept certain viewpoints. There's general things that are accepted, but you don't have to fall in line. You don't have to agree. And it's fine if you leave, come in, join another group, find another guy who talks about your viewpoint. I think it would be more important to talk about the fake red pill people who are taking advantage of people, you know, in this, feeling this way, in this group, I guess you could say, taking advantage of them money-wise. They're not going to be talking about that. Oh, no. They're not going to be talking about how these people are taken advantage of, even by men. Oh, no, they're not going to do that.
my point of view was that women are having too much power.
Is that not a valid discussion? Is that not a valid point? How is it not valid? Or is it valid?
Now the phrase has been co-opted.
No, see, they're not going to discuss any of this stuff. They're just using trigger points to assert what is socially acceptable, socially normal, and socially good. Sorry I'm cutting in and out of this too much, but it might drive you crazy.
By communities online.
No.
To swallow the red pill is to accept that everything you've been told about society, about
Not everything. And look at all this stuff. Look, they use the little history has a myth and all this other stuff. We recently had a woman on TikTok literally tried to debate that Rome never existed. Literally. Tried to sit down and believes and is influencing people to believe that Rome never existed. I want that to sink in for you. Please try to wrap your head around that. And we now have a propaganda video like this suggesting that, you know, there's not a different way to look at something. There's not a different experience. You know, even if you heavily invested in feminism, even if you truly believed in it, there's no way, if you were a decent person and able to, you know, have a tiny bit, just a tiny shrivel, a speck of empathy, that you could look at men. Maybe you don't want to accept that there's been an overreaction from women or an extreme reaction, but you would at least be able to see that men might have a tough time coping with the changes, and, you know, how they fit into society. But we don't focus on men's, you know, experience. We don't focus on men's, you know, and that's why I made this channel right here. I want to make it, you know, point blank, because men's experiences, society doesn't want you to talk about them. Men shun you from having feelings, and women encourage you to cry and have feelings and all that. We'll make a video just about that. That's a whole another whole video. But right here, you know, certain feelings, certain communication is allowed, not allowed, and those chat rooms are dangerous. Oh, in TikTok, they banned the hashtag and the use of you know, MGTOW.
gender,
I hope that makes these people happy.
race, politics
Oh no, look. We already know where these people stand.
is a lie.
You hear that term
And I'm not trying to support or celebrate Trump either. Not the best guy at all, but look at this propaganda.
used in a lot of different communities on the far right.
So now the red pill is far right. They are not going to explain how they are far right. You see, this is how the modern left, or the modern the emotional type of people in our society get people wrapped around, you know, their lingo and be a part of their this society and agree with them. Oh, look, she can be excited or have a chagrin Oh, look at that chagrin right there on her face. That the red pill has something to do with the right wing. Has nothing to do with the right wing. About the only argument is that you could try to suggest is that there are people who believe in some of the red pill, but also believe in traditionalism, and traditionalism is not necessarily even the same as conservatism, but I doubt that they care about nuance or the details of anything, because they've already smothered like 5 brushes in the face of men, and with a very bad dark brush to paint them in a very bad light as it is. So let's continue.
And basically it means being awakened to the truth.
And why is that funny? This lady, I'd like you to comment on this video. I doubt that you'd ever watch it or care. How in the heck, holy bejesus, is that a funny comment unless you're just trying to laugh at MGTOW people? Awaken to the truth? How is that? That's one of the most important things underlying, social or political or personal change. I mean, that's like the foundation of how can you, try to demean that or take that down?
Of the way that reality really is. It's actually men who are at a disadvantage, and they need to do whatever is in their control to put the women back in their place.
Oh, put women back in their place. So she's arguing from a feminist viewpoint of patriarchy. That has nothing to do with red pill. She has clearly lied, misinformed people, and might not even understand herself what MGTOW is. There are these smirking, laughing women. I invite you to go. I know some people really don't like him, but go to Kevin Samuel's channel. And there's these smirking, laughing women who know that they're lying right through their teeth with a straight face and with a smile. And I don't know how these people live with themselves. How does this woman sleep at night? She just lied that the red pill is about, defending your own life, your own money, not losing your house and your half of your assets and your kids to the divorce courts. But MGTOW is about distancing yourself from people like her, and living a minimalist lifestyle that can be a part of it, and distancing yourself from these types of people, because you have to play manipulative mind games with them, and even if you do get them to admit to a shred of truth, that clearly shows that they were wrong, clearly shows that they were completely wrong, they still don't care. They're still going to continue. They're not held accountable.
Becca Lewis is a researcher at Data and Society.
And if I have to really discuss it again, MGTOW is not trying to get back to traditional marriage and putting women in their place and trying to take them out of politics or anything like that. You can't find a video about that. There is no MGTOW video out there. Unless somebody now decides to make a PSYOP fake video. There's no MGTOW person, and I've looked through and watched plenty of videos, who's ever suggested anything of the sort. Most of them are actually completely against traditional marriage. Thank you very much.
She's been studying these forums for years, before taking the red pill became...
If she has studied this for years, she clearly, she can't read, or I don't know. I don't want to go this far. She might have a couple nuts loose, up in the head.
Political. It was actually just about picking up women.
Okay, yeah. Sure, that's how a lot of men want advice. They want to know how to date, because women are the ones who control dating. Men are outcasted if they try to control dating in any way. And I've talked about that before. If a man rejects a woman, tries to set any types of boundaries, what they want. There's been news articles that have tried to defame men who have requirements. But you can go on, any of these dating places, Tinder, and there's plenty of women with a laundry list of expectations and demands, and that's fine. But men can't have any expectations or control, and we won't even get into the law aspect of this with politics, because men are pretty much powerless, and they continue to be more and more laws and regulations and controls of men, and these laws and regulations are not about stopping men from doing terrible things to women. They're about taking money away from men and socially conditioning them to act, quote unquote, less masculine.
You'll find people gravitating to communities like the pickup artist community.
This is sadly somewhat true, because again, I've talked about those people who are taking advantage of Red Pill, and because their game is kind of up, because no, you really can't just pick up women. You can't go to the coffee shop these days. I mean, you might have a 1 in 1,000 chance. You can't go to your local diner. I mean, this is even pre-coof or whatever you want to call it times. It's not socially acceptable. It's far too socially dangerous. I mean, what is... She thinks this is funny because she knows that women are still in the seat of power. And again, MGTOW isn't about taking that power away from them. But she has admitted that women are in the seat of power, even if she doesn't want to admit it or not. It's about... Funny enough, MGTOW, if anything, is about equality. But they certainly don't see it that way.
Where young men can get advice on how to attract young women.
Yeah, because, again, men have the responsibility of dating. There's no... Women don't have to learn how to go out there and, besides putting on some makeup, which is something men actually... they've proven through studies that most men actually like the natural look, or would prefer it, especially if they're wanting marriage. It's frankly unbelievable that men doing everything they possibly can to date a woman, doing everything that they possibly can to make a woman happy, and have a human experience, a human life, with dating. And, that men are not supposed to have any type of advice. That's, again, why I made this channel.
They're really feeling lost and looking for advice or guidance or community.
Yes. And are you going to talk about why that is, what caused these problems, or how to give them any sense of community or purpose?
I met up with a man who you could call an ex-red pillar. He's out of the community now, but he asked us to keep his identity a secret.
Oh goodness, we got the whistleblower. Oh yes. These CNN and these types love the whistleblower.
Let's call him Josh.
As soon as I started to...
Yeah, and now he's got another scary voice. And they could improve his voice or adapt his voice or change it, or use a program to, read his words off for him. Okay, so he's unsuccessful. So I bet you they're going to start with the incels.
Continuously not do so well with women. Instead of thinking that it was me, I started to, in a way, blame.
Is this the same interview from before? Did they just cut back to this and... Maybe people don't pay attention, but this is like the same exact scene from before.
Them. That's when I first entered the world of the pickup artists.
He found them in online communities where men talked strategy, how to seduce women.
That they're leading into this. That's not what the Red Pill started out as, and that's not the purpose of Red Pill, but that is how a lot of people do get into, this quote unquote red pill or MGTOW, but they're not even differentiating between all of these groups of different people.
Women. They're coined red pill forums.
They were kind of
Yeah, and there's forms for everything. They act like these types of people act like everything is surprising. Oh, there's a forum of these people talking about something. There's forms for how to make banana splits, people.
speaking to a need that I felt was really not met at certain.
Okay, we've been over this. Yeah, you can't communicate, or it's very difficult to communicate to people around you about these things.
My life.
In these forums, hitting on women turns into a game.
A game? Well, dating is suggested as a game. Pat Benatar said it was war. And that came from a woman. So, which is it? Is it okay for women to say dating is a game? Because there's an awful lot of music that says that. Or there's a lot of women who talk about that. And women can talk about dating in their little social groups. Mothers talk about dating with their daughters. But fathers often don't talk to their sons about dating. And men often are less social and don't talk with each other as much about dating. And even when they used to have, bars and taverns and meet together to talk about issues and discuss business and all that kind of stuff in the past. And that type of culture is kind of long gone. I mean, there's pubs in Ireland, but this is different. After work, most men used to go, get dinner or hang out with their friends just for a little while before going home. And if they were single, they might just go to the tavern to have their dinner, have a beer, hang out with their buddies, maybe every night. Not to get drunk every night, not to be drunkards, but that was their lifestyle. And they would discuss, everything from business to dating. We don't have that type of culture. If a bunch of boys got together and talked about how the best way to date girls at their school, all hell would break loose. That actually sounds like a really funny thing. Please do that. Please let me know how that went.
Premise. Sex is ultimately about power and
I guess you could look at it that way, but again, this is just fitting into the feminist mindset. About power. Men do something and they take, but again, certain people are allowed to have their truth or have their own confidence, but men aren't able to have their own sense of self or power. See, they're acting like men conquering. I mean, maybe that's not the best way to look at dating, but lots of women did it in the past. I mean, how many movies are there with women notching, cases of lipstick? It's like, oh, with this case of lipstick in this time frame, I got a dozen men. And stuff like that. And that's in movies. But and that's not seen as something that's necessarily bad. But if men go on quote unquote conquests, I mean, that's maybe not the best way to go about things. And I do believe families build societies best. But really? Really? So men are supposed to be powerless. Or what kind of power are men supposed to have? Or are men supposed to have any power? They're not going to discuss the actual details. They're just going to try to scare you.
taking back control.
That's what this
which is a reactionary movement to
Oh yes, yes. Of course they were going to do
the feminist movement. That reaction is that there is a group of rebellious women who are just
Is that not true? Are there not? Have you ever watched the news? How can these people lie about these things? How can these people lie
angry at men
like this openly? Have they ever watched a rally in New York City, a feminist march, a feminist article? Do you not know the motto, kill all men? If you don't know, well, I'll probably make a video about this as well. There's a motto that's very popular these days, and even young women. This isn't old women that are unattractive who are now feel like they want revenge against men. Young women have adopted this, and they just say kill all men because they want to replace them. And women are the ones who are seeking power and are being extremely possibly violent and possibly dangerous. But yes, I don't want to... I'd have to make a whole video dedicated onto the foundations or the beginnings of feminism, because it's been through like 4 or 5 stages at this point. But feminism really was actually started by Christian women who believed in virtue. But we won't talk about that now.
They do recognize that, you know, women have rights, but only in as much as, like, these are rights that, like, you know, men have given.
How much did they pay this guy to lie? Or is this guy fake? See, you're supposed to believe this guy is authentic and believe this guy is real, but you're supposed to disregard a thousand or thousands of comments of actual men who actually tell you what they believe and actually tell you their experiences and what the issues actually are. MGTOW does not discuss on how to take women's rights away. Red pill has nothing to do that. Again, go watch a video from a quote-unquote red pill people. Even these pickup art people don't suggest, they don't say these things, and they don't even get close to suggesting anything of the sort. These people are liars. CNN, you're a liar.
It wasn't just about misogyny. These forums became political.
Okay, somebody has a profile picture or a thumbnail of Hitler, and that's the kind of stuff that they're going to show you. Okay. Yeah, we see what kind of triggers that you use and the agenda behind what you do. This is blatantly obvious, and this is obviously ridiculous.
You can start to embody those more radical ideas based on the initial idea that men are actually the ones that are being mistreated in society.
And are you going to discuss if that's true or not? Are you going to discuss, even if it's not true, on what possibly could be done for men? Or what should be better, what should be done better for men? Are you going to discuss anything? No. You're going to discuss that premise is wrong, and that men are still, essentially what she's saying indirectly, if you were to switch this around, this woman still believes that men are in power, that men are privileged, and that men probably need to be punched down a bit more.
So once you start from that basis, it's really easy for it to
I'm tired of this. This is just stupid. Does Trump say he's red pill? Does Trump think he's red pill? No, he's never said that. He's never discussed that. It's never been a talking point of Trump or anybody in Trump's circle or surrounded by him. And the red pill people don't support Trump. I've never seen much of any support of any kind. And I've never seen any red pill video or MGTOW video discussing Trump at all. There's no correlation with Trump, and this is the same kind of stuff that they do. These radical, CNN is the actual radical people, to affiliate you with these people. They just blanket you with who is the current villain, the bad man of the time, and then you can't win an argument because you're all these ist and isms. I'm not going to get into this anymore. But CNN should be ashamed of themselves for this.
snowball.
This is far from journalism.
Sprinkled in between.
Okay, I'm looking over this. They're anonymous, and they don't even claim to be
Posts on women are.
These people didn't even. Maybe they got this from a red pill forum. But there is nothing here, what they just showed you, to correlate you even with these comments. And they don't even discuss these comments.
Hateful comments on topics like race and religion.
And you have no evidence to support that these are red pill people. Unless you're going to even make this blanket term and color anybody who has a divergent or differing opinion, and you're going to put everybody in the world besides, you know, who you like as into the group of red pill, just like you did with saying everybody was essentially a fascist if they didn't agree with you on myriads of multiple types of complex issues. This is the kind of stuff that destroys political discourse and actual human interaction and understanding of people. People aren't going to be able to come together and have common ground and understand each other if you blanketly call anybody, you know, these crazy terms that half of the time they don't even understand and have no feeling or no. These types of people like CNN and the like have they have no want to explain themselves and justify themselves in any ways. They're gonna move to the next victim. They're willing to go over, they doxed. I don't know if y'all heard about that, but there's I think it was a couple of years ago. There was somebody making memes, and they hit CNN pretty hard, and but then they doxed them. And if you don't know what that means, they like released all their private information and tried to get them kicked out of school. CNN, your news agency, targeted somebody over memes and tried to ruin their lives. That's the kind of world we live in.
At what point did this
I can't even. We're going to continue. This is blatant propaganda, and there's nothing to do with Nazis and MGTOW.
rhetoric, at what point did this turn political for you?
MGTOW has nothing to do with politics. Red pill has nothing to do with politics.
Just, you know, really felt powerless because I felt that my opinions, you know, my feelings, especially.
And is there not a shred of truth to that? Is there not some truth to that? And are we not going to talk about why he feels that, or why he felt that in the past, and why some men are feeling that way? And see, they keep focusing on feelings because they're acting like there's no causation. It's just feelings, and if you just talk about something as just a feeling, then you can discard this that nothing causes this, or there's no foundation for these feelings or these experiences, and you can just whisk them away as to like men's anger, and men have problems, and men need to take a couple more pills and figure out what's figure out what's wrong with them.
As a man did not matter.
And this is why psychologists and colleges are so dangerous as well.
Especially when they're
people be getting more money than me. Are they going to actually talk about the wage gap?
People,
and how it's a lie?
Getting more money than me, getting more girls than me, and I'm just...
Well, it's a competition. That's how men have viewed things for a very long time. It's always been a competition. I don't actually think that's a good way to go through life. I like peace, personal peace, and also on a large scale with nationalities, when things become highly competitive, that does have a tendency to lead to war. And there have been nations who have gone to war competing for who was seen as the most beautiful woman maybe in the world or all of existence. There's been times where nations have gone to war over like, I'm not talking about just going to war because a queen said to go to war. I'm talking about two nations went to war because some king wanted some other king's wife. I mean, but we're not going to talk about anything like that, are we? And see, they're demonizing competition. Can make a whole video about this. But if men don't want to compete, what's the reason to make more technology? What's the reason to have better lives, to make more food, to you know, want to have you know, beautiful children, or healthy children just in general? Or, I mean, they're essentially, these people are tearing down everything, but no competition. Well, that's a big discussion on whether you want to have a competition or not, or support. There's all kinds of different worldviews, like Buddhism. I mean, we could discuss some Buddhism, which is pretty strongly against competition. But I mean, these people can say whatever they want, and they're not held. Once again, they are not held accountable at all.
Like, what can I do to catch up? And I was, you know, to my eternal embarrassment, radicalized by the
I don't want to continue through this because it's a lie.
by the right wing politically, since I refuse.
So he's saying he's refused to listen to other people's points of view. See how they're switching this around? You, your whole life as a young man, have to go and listen to everybody's points of view. I literally went to college and had to listen to people cry and demand for more benefits for single mothers. It literally happened to me at college. But now men are the ones who aren't listening to other people's points of view. Who wrote his script? And how do they get away with this? We're not going to let them get away with it.
Used to like listen to anyone else's point of view.
And also, again, I'm not right wing, but they've done studies and they've proven that the people on the right, quote unquote right, are actually much more able to understand different points of view, much more than leftists. And again, I'm not taking a side on leftists or right, but the people who are open-minded are actually the right-wing people. But I bet you won't hear that from CNN, will you? No, you won't.
I immediately took theirs because I believed that it was the right one.
No. Red pill and MGTOW people do not de facto just trust somebody. And I don't want you here at Daddy Knows Best channel to just believe whatever I say, or just trust me. I want you to think, I want you to analyze, and I want you to apply whatever you hear to your life in a practical way, and test things for yourself, and figure out what's true. It's like the scientific method. You have to test things thoroughly and figure out if they apply, and a lot of the times nothing is for certain, and sometimes things change, and society certainly is changing all the time. And again, they're just playing up to this. They're essentially just saying this guy had a huge ego, and that he wanted to conquer things and take women's rights away, and that he was right wing. And this is this game and this personification of right wing people in general, or straight white men too. This is why they constantly demonize and honestly these CNN and the like hate men. They're the ones who are filled with hate. And they're the ones who won't listen to other people's points of view. Ever tried to talk to anybody who listens to CNN? Ever tried to have a discussion with somebody with CNN? If you can't get a hold of them, or try to discuss anything with them. Oh, I have quite a story for another video about that.
It's interesting that you said radicalized. Was that a gateway?
Because you've mentioned it like 10 times. Oh, because it's a keyword.
To the alt-right.
And look at all this scary horror montage. Again.
Right?
To a degree. Actually to a very large degree. They speak to these guys who believe that they're being, largely ignored. Kind of being pushed out of the spotlight.
This isn't a spotlight. Society in general, where either men are celebrated or women. But, again, they're not discussing that. See, they always try to pretend like they're kicking up from a place of weakness. People like CNN, and that you know, somebody is trying to, you know, hurt them or lie to them, or in some kind of in this way, in regards to power. You know, pushed out of the spotlight. I don't know if this guy has some kind of ego where he wanted to be famous or think that he was a celebrity. I mean, I don't know what's going on in this guy's head, but men in general don't want to feel like they're famous or on the spotlight or going to Broadway or the red carpet. I mean, a lot of men don't want to feel ignored, because they especially when they're constantly told to sacrifice. If you're doing something for other people, if you're working for other people or building their homes, electricity, water, technology, and you do everything in society, and you don't get a shred of gratitude, why shouldn't there be a little bit of resentment because you're ignored? Men are expected to do anything and everything, and then, you know, heaven forbid you ask for a shred of gratitude. Let's continue.
As like, you know, feminism has, you know, kind of been on the rise for the past 50 years.
Has feminism not existed for the last 40, 50 years? And has it not completely changed society? Again, whether you agree or disagree with feminism, there is something to discuss here. The good and the bad, and, you know, unintentional consequences, even if you believe in feminism. I mean, this is ridiculous.
It kind of, like, you know, really speaks to fear, you know.
Yeah, because there should be at least a tiny bit of fear. Because you have governments against you, you have militaries against you, you have other men who are constantly trying to keep you down, and constantly watching you. I mean, there's been plenty of times where I've went on dates, and I was a perfect gentleman. Again, I was raised LDS. Didn't even kiss the girl, didn't even hold her hands, and guys assume that, you know, assume that you're a player. Assume that you did the wrong thing. Assume that the woman, you know, that you know, that they need to report you or beat you up or, you know, get you fired or thrown out of college or whatever it is, even if the woman was just uncomfortable or because she didn't get what she wanted out of the date. You know, she didn't get the result she wanted. And again, we're talking even if this is a religious private college that I didn't even kiss anybody.
The alt-right and Gamergate and, like, a lot of the men's rights act.
This has no correlation. It's a complete fabrication. It's a lie. And I could do tons of research and show you all the evidence why it's not, but
Activists, they kind of not really calm that fear, but in a way they kind of stoke that fire.
It starts to tie into a more broad idea that men are under threat from modern society.
Is that not true? See, this lady and feminists and people like her will not explain why these men feel this way. Why do they feel this way? What social changes have been done that would possibly impact men to possibly make these changes and possibly create these feelings? They're constantly just going to talk about these feelings, and they're going to focus on women's issues and women needing, you know, continuing to be the victim, and men against women. And again, whether you believe in feminism or not, you have to discuss what changes, these social changes have done. Even without feminism, even with single mother households, you have to talk about how fatherless homes with just these single mothers, how that has impacted young men and made a huge social change. Huge change in our culture, huge change in young men's upbringings. And I seriously, I wonder sometimes why these people feel this way, because it looks to me like they're on the game of conquering these feminist types, and they're not. And again, I don't think they're going to give up anytime soon, and they already have the governments, and they want all the governments, if you know what I mean.
And they basically adopt the terminology of the left, saying that men are an oppressed group.
So she's claiming that MGTOW claimed the victimization. And that goes down to Marxism. This is a huge discussion for another day. But it's about minorities. It's essentially that the masses are in power so they can take advantage of the smaller groups of people because, you know, they have less tools, or they have less opportunities to defend themselves. But that only works in pure democracies. Again, that's more of a political thing, but again, America is a republic, a democratic republic, but we've taken away, and I won't get into the politics of it, we've really shredded our country politically apart for those protections to be there, so those kinds of things don't happen. But this is a whole different issue. This is not about minorities versus majority. But there is some truth to that, but I doubt that they're going to talk about women being 51% of the world's population. Let's see if they talk about that.
They're being put down by systematic feminism, and we need to...
Is there not truth to that? Are there not laws against men? Do we not have movements that say believe all women? Have there not been men who have been put in jail and they didn't commit the crime, or the crime was like making a woman unhappy, or, you know, lawyers siding with giving women lesser crime sentences and everything that you would talk about, you know, in regards to, you know, being oppressed? Do men not get, like, you know, for the same job, they have less of a chance of getting hired? Men, yes, less of a chance of getting hired. Less of a you know, they're paid less for the same jobs. Men are. They've done studies about it. You can look it up. Like the women's soccer thing, like women crying with the U.S. soccer teams, I believe it was, them saying that they were underpaid for the work and the games that they played, and for how much time they were on the field. Women were actually paid more than men, and that's the truth of it. That's the facts. It's a fact. Women were paid more. But she's going to continue on. I guess we'll continue.
Societal changes to help men.
And she acts like that's ridiculous. I mean, if you're going to make all these social changes, are there not social changes that need to happen for men? And now they're going to play into the game of respecting women, of you know, that. See, they'll destroy and tear apart and dissect all of a society, but they'll keep the things that still give them power and still influence people, because, you know, we still have people who want to have families. We still have people who want to have a respectful society. So you do want to respect women. And sure, men should be respected, women should be respected. But you should get respect based on your own merits and your own character. It's not de facto. And we should not live in a society where women should just be respected because they're women, and men should just be people and not get any respect. Is that not sexism? But again, they try to make this argument that it's the opposite, where women are not respected and men are given are of a, you know, a de facto basic higher status than women. And it's simply not the case. Even before feminism, women were given more respect than men. And that's just a fact. I mean, Who can you not criticize? Who do you have to give help to and aid to? How, like, the single mothers. Think of the widows in the Bible. Having pity and helping the widows, and everything throughout history. It's been women who have been given the priority. Men can go die on a battlefield. It's like, who cares? But women, no, they have to be treated a little bit better.
So how does a guy like Josh end up joining the men's rights movement, becoming a part of these so-called red pill forums?
Again, red pill and MGTOW are two different things, but whatever.
And he was just looking for a girlfriend. I met up with Dr. Elias Abu Jabbar.
So now they're gonna. This guy is either gonna be some psychologist, or he's gonna be some like Google type person, and talk about how the mind works. This is
a psychiatrist who wrote.
And again, this is the first time I've watched this. I'm watching it with you. I'm trying to make this authentic.
A book called Virtually You: The Dangerous Powers of the E-Personality.
So this is another type of person who's attacking online privacy and sharing of information, and wants governments to step in and have power to cause there to be consequences for what you say or how you say things, and who you communicate to and how you communicate to them, and to control where information goes and where it's stored and what can be seen and what not can be seen. These are the type of people who are very dangerous, and they have lobbies. These are the type of people who are dangerous. But let's continue.
We don't go online to become more moderate. We go online to...
Oh, here we go. Yes, we have proven that places like Facebook do bring people into communities, and where they often want to have a similar frame of mind or similar societal views and lifestyles, but by his own frame of reference, men who get into a community or go on the internet want to become more extreme. That same principle would apply to every group. You would apply that to every religion and every group, including feminism. So again, they use these terms and phrases in little studies, but they apply them unequally to one another. And I doubt that CNN has ever made a video like this about feminism and talking about the social consequences. Again, whether you disagree or agree, oppose, support, want to fund or defund feminism or whatever, I doubt that they've actually made a video like this talking about how they got into feminism, how feminism, is spread, how they communicate. But of course, feminism has institutional powers. Yes, they do, with colleges. Of course, earlier, they just disregarded that, and with the government. Men don't have those kinds of powers. It's just doesn't exist. Well, let's continue. And he's looking, again, there's all this body language of that he knows that he's lying, and this happens throughout this video.
Have our more extreme positions, our more extreme ideology.
It's not that again, psychology has largely been taken over and destroyed. It doesn't really exist anymore, much like comedy. But it's not that your e-personality is more radical. It's that through the internet, you're able to actually express your own genuine, authentic self and views. See, they're not going to talk about societal groups and people gathering and expressing ideas, because that would kind of tear... that's a discussion on the social fabric of society and what leads to change and whatnot. But of course, some change is good. Some change we chant and celebrate on the news, and we all love it. Change we can believe in. Again, I'm not right wing, but that's just an example. And here, he's making this type of argument. Let's continue.
Ideologies be confirmed and agreed upon. The more we do that, the more polarized we become.
Potentially. It depends on the individual. It depends on what the individual, you know, who they're around, how open-minded they are, if they want to discuss things. I've been in groups where everybody's very open-minded and inconsiderate of each other. It's not always the case. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's fewer groups where people are open-minded. But again, are you applying this to everything? Like Facebook groups about people who want to go to the beach? Oh no, everybody wants to go to the beach. Let's continue.
As a society.
And increasingly, we're
And they keep using some of the same scenes over and over. This is really lazy.
seeing some of that rhetoric play out offline. A neo-Nazi protest.
Okay, here we go again. I'm just tired of this. I don't even want to say anything else. This is lazy. These are lies. And neo-Nazis really don't particularly exist. Besides, actually, and people like Antifa, who want huge amounts of government control and silence those who agree with them and commit acts of violence and want those positions of power with government. I mean, if anybody's like a Nazi, it's Antifa, but we're not going to talk about that.
In Charlottesville. One leader.
Again, you said they were neo-Nazis, but you haven't discussed anything about why they are neo-Nazis or any proof that they are. And again, Nazis were terrible people and did terrible things, and Hitler's a terrible person. I'm sure I don't need to say that. I'm sure that you know that, and you know that I would be opposed to Nazism like anybody else. But again, these are the types of people, and again, influenced by our public school system, that you're not going to talk about communism. You're not going to talk about the evils of Stalin and the rise of communism, are you? No. But again, they're making this political. And this is their goal. Because if they can get MGTOW and Red Pill mixed in with politics, then they can paint them with the same brush. They can put them in the same groups, and they don't have to make these types of distinctions. They don't have to have more complex debates. They don't have to have more complex arguments. They simply have to sit back and call you you're the bad word of the day, or the bad man of the day. That's all they have to do to control people and weaponize people against each other. That's all they have to do. And that's why they make videos like this. Because Red Pill and MGTOW has nothing to do with politics. You can go watch their videos. Go watch them. I don't even want to mention them here. Because, sometimes I don't even agree with them. All of them. Or sometimes much of them. But I don't know if YouTube will probably put down my channel if I do talk about them. But you can find them. They're not hard to find if you actually do some of your own research. So let's continue.
Christopher Cantwell, who gained notoriety in a Vice report, wrote a number of articles for a men's rights blog in 2004.
I know, but they're using all these triggers. They're not going to explain this. I mean, we have a culture on college where this is discussed. I mean, this is an issue. And men are afraid to date. Men are afraid to approach women. And what is considered acceptable in regards to dating and not. I mean, at what point can you be, confident or masculine in the bed or in the sheets? At what point is it socially acceptable for men to, maybe approach a woman? You know, people these days are scream and holler about things like, you know, a woman entering a man's room or sitting on a bed beside a man, and that being assumed that she's interested or wanting to do something. See, I mean, these, and if a man was to try to make a move or do anything, you know, touch or do anything, then at any point that's the problem. You can accuse anybody of anything for almost any reason, and then you have to de facto believe them. And yes, rape is terrible, and yes, rape still does happen. But again, these kinds of things are on the decline. And when there is a rise in these types of things like rape, which is terrible, we won't talk about in Sweden, you know, why rapes actually went up, will you? No, you won't.
14. We reached out to Cantwell.
Yeah, we should discuss what is harassment and what's not, because people want to control speech and everything, and some people can claim to be the victim. I mean, why should that not be discussed?
Via his website.
This looks extremely fake. This looks like some kind of cartoon character, like Stewie or something. Radical agenda. I mean, no red pill person would say something like that. Contact me. Sorry, I'm reading over this. This is the first time I've seen this with you. Charlottesville Regional Jail? Is he like a jail guard or something? So this person has now been semi-doxxed by CNN, if they are real, and there's nothing here to suggest that this person is radical, besides this radical agenda thing. For all I know, this is completely fake. And I have no trust in CNN. And no one should have trust in CNN.
But haven't heard back. An incident at that Charlottesville protest resulted in many injured.
Don't get me started on these types of ridiculous talking points and narratives.
And one person dead.
Don't get me started. They were trying to kill the woman, if you don't know.
We have become offline the people that we are online, meaning these narcissistic traits, this impulsivity, this...
So he's saying that these things are bad because they're random or chaotic?
aggression that we manifest.
Okay, so now MGTOW and the red pill leads to violence
So easily and so automatically on social media and other online platforms. We are becoming these people offline as well. Our world has become a chat room.
In what sense?
And what's wrong with chat rooms? You have again failed to discuss why chat rooms are bad. You have again failed to discuss why the psychology or how human interaction online on the internet can affect our personal lives. You fail to discuss any of that, and again, you're painting it in this frame set. I mean, there's plenty of people do almost like live on the internet, and there's, I mean, almost everybody in first world countries uses the internet everywhere, even second world, even a lot of people in third world countries have the internet. So are you going to discuss what's good and what's bad, and how people apply things to their lives, or any of that? No, you're not going to.
There is something rewarding about acting disinhibited online because you feel like you're getting away with something.
So he's trying to wiggle in the psychology of like getting away with a crime or being sneaky or being dubious with the red pill or MGTOW. I mean, I suppose there could be a small element of that, because when you can't say these things, you know, or you can't have any real human interaction with those around you, of fear or real ostracization from your job, from society, from your family, from everybody. There can be a sense of enjoyment from expressing yourself, because you have a release, just like reading a book can, and many other things, just like any form of entertainment. So this guy is trying to wiggle in and imply that MGTOW and Red Pill are criminals by what they say, and I am not making this up, because these people, I'm not even talking about hate crimes, which these types of people believe in, that your expression of anger or hate, quote-unquote hate, can be a crime. They are also suggesting that you're getting away with this crime, hate crime or otherwise, because of anonymity. Again, I told you this guy was dangerous, and I was right.
Thing that, you know, in the moment can feel good, but the more it happens, the more it gets normalized. So
I mean, that's true with anything. If some people embrace something, the majority of people do something. It's not the new exciting stimulus thing. It's not, the novelty wears off, as they say. That's with anything. Sure, that's a little bit of psychology there, sure. But see, he's suggesting that, again, with the beginning, with the rabbit hole type of thing, they're suggesting, and their whole narrative here is that MGTOW and the Red Pill is going to lead you to become like some violent radical Nazi, and that's where this leads. Again, when Trump supporters had nothing to do with Nazis, and they've said all kinds of lies in this video, and don't care to explain themselves.
So you do it once, you're more likely to do it twice.
It depends on if you feel like you're personally, internally or externally validated, or you benefit in one way. It depends.
Twice, and then maybe 10 times. After the 10th time, it's become so sort of normalized that it's easier for it to be transposed.
It's just behavior and also habits as well. Nothing new. Is this supposed to be impressive or exciting?
Offline.
Red pill groups are scattered across the internet, but they were able to rally around a political mission in 2016.
So there are people that focus on men's rights. There are people that focus on, you know, issues of white Americans. There are trolls.
I'm sorry. I might not make another video like this. We'll see how much if y'all like this. This is a video that should get tons of views, but we'll see. They again are throwing all these quote-unquote bad people into the group of Red Pill because they are the people who are the ostracized and are the marginalized. White people, white straight males, are the people you can kick against. You can have an argue, you can comment below whether you think white people are oppressed or not. I mean, that's another video for a whole nother day. I don't even know if I want to make it. But the thing is, they're throwing all these people in there. There are MGTOW of every race, religion, creed out there. And a lot of MGTOW people, or people who would be called Red Pill, are, you know, they're black. But of course, that is not the framework she wants to raise. She wants to, you know, play this little political game, play her race game, race bait, and against feminism. And they have again failed to discuss why men would feel any of these feel this kind of way. why they would want to do these things in this manner. Why doesn't this psychologist earlier sit down and tell us why men feel like they have to be anonymous online to say these things? Why do men feel like they have to hide? To this woman right now, why does she think that she can get away with this, like I've talked about earlier? But why does she think that she's going to help anybody by doing this? I don't know who she thinks she's helping. Feminists? Her little fake journalism career? She's probably paid way too much, but let's continue.
Who just want to trick people and elicit a response.
That's not what trolls are. The word for troll, or the term for troll, has really lost almost all of its meaning. If you don't know what trolls is or means on the internet, don't listen to people like this who don't know anything about the internet. A troll refers like the little songs and the poems about trolls, like the bridge troll. You know, if you make a noise, if they see you, they'll want to, like she said, possibly get a response, but it's more of like annoy you or confuse you. It's mostly annoy or confuse, and trolling can be a bad thing, and some trolls can be disgusting. But again, she's wrapping all these very negative people. There are trolls of all kinds of different sorts, different races, religions, peoples, beliefs, and it's just an internet thing that some people do for entertainment. It doesn't necessarily... take that word away, necessarily. It does not have anything to do with red pill people. But there are, or MGTOW, but there are some of these people, just like of any other group, who will want to go out there and do this. But again, trolls is, again, somebody who you don't know, it really keeps nagging you over and over. Just because somebody disagrees with you on a couple videos every once in a while, that's not a troll. Just because you have a debate with somebody, that's not a troll. Just because somebody, you know, downvotes your video, that's not a troll. Just because, you know, a group of people decide to get into a movement and dislike your somebody's YouTube video because, you know, they disagree with it, Disney or whoever it might be, Lord of the Rings, Amazon Lord of the Rings, those people are not trolls. The people who are trolls, again, repeatedly try to get a response from somebody, usually who is just keeping to themselves. You know, you can't really, if somebody is very politically open or vocal, you can't really troll them. And again, it takes two to tango. Somebody can only be trolled as if they keep reacting to something and the person keeps repeating themselves or whatever it is. I mean, some people would try to call me a troll because I've debated things with people before. I was actually debating them. I was not trolling them. I have actually been trolled. Funny enough. And I could make a whole video about that. I probably will. But I have been trolled by women. If you want to get trolled, go ask for the... I mean, again, you're not disagreeing with this a rape victim's experience. You're just asking them... and again, you have to be very careful. Again, you do want to be respectful. But if somebody is putting out their rape experience for political reasons and for political debate, especially if they're a feminist, somebody like that on Twitter, and then you ask them the details. Hey, maybe they were, you know, that did happen to them. It was very bad. But if they don't actually want to tell you the details of that experience, and then everybody starts attacking you because you demand, you know, for some explanation. And some people are making careers. They're making their whole lifestyle, and they're wrapping their identity around being raped. Why don't we talk about the psychology of that? Because it's not healthy. That that in particular is not healthy for somebody to wrap their identity around something that was a bad experience, and to go around like a motivational speaker, talking about this experience. They're getting rewarded for it, and in a really odd way, it kind of motivates women to either make up a Me Too experience. Why don't we talk about that, the psychology of that? Where women want to feel like they're included, and whether they've had a bad experience or not, I'm not saying they're all liars, they're not. There have been women who have gone through terrible things, and men have done terrible things before. But the thing is, who's authentic, what's real? Who's actually a victim and who's not? You often have no real way to authenticate that. Really, no. But of course, some people, if you're anonymous, no, that's dangerous. Some people expressing their experience, oh, that's dangerous.
Trump was a way that they...
I think I've already said it before, but CNN and this lady in particular, you're disgusting. You're a liar. And you know it.
could all come together and unite.
No, the Red Pill and the MGTOW people did not unify around Trump.
Around a common goal.
The people know the truth.
What about Donald Trump was unifying for people who have so-called swallowed the red pill?
Well, I think they liked that he kind of barreled in and they thought he was really going to...
She's not going to give any real explanation. There's no connection with that. Sure, Trump wanted you to become, I don't know, quote-unquote awake. Potentially. You could say that loosely, but he never used that type of jargon, those types of words, and he never talked anything about Red Pill or MGTOW or men. Trump never openly promoted men. In fact, he supported his daughter's own program to give paid leave to recent mothers. I mean, this guy had nothing to do with MGTOW, and honestly, if we were to have that debate, I mean, Trump really just made more taxes and continued the same institutions that benefit women more than men, over men.
Mess up the...
It's ridiculous. Okay, here we go with the Pepe Frog meme. Doesn't have anything to do with Red Pill either. But that's a type of meme that has its own messages, and that's a whole nother way of something else. That would be a whole nother video of discussion. Can't get into that today too much, but it's these things are not interconnected, not by a long shot, and they've never worked together. Pepe memes have never supported Red Pill or MGTOW content. MGTOW content has never supported Pepe memes or frogs. Maybe you can find somebody out there who's made like one or something, but I've never seen it, never heard of it. It's not popular. Again, more lies, and you see, if you're awake, or if you are aware, I hope that you're seeing that this formula, this is a pattern by CNN on how they demonize or disregard anybody. Anybody who they don't like, they could make this same format of video and apply it to them. Anybody. And this is the same type of jargon and the same type of thing that they're going to do, and then this is all they constantly do. And this is why it's so hard to get any real social discourse or any real interaction with people, because this CNN influences people to act and talk and think this way, and there's people watching this who agree, or I don't even think they can agree because they're not really thinking people, but they're going to sit there and think that they're highly educated. They're going to think that they know psychology. They're going to think that they know about the foundations and the start and the reasonings behind MGTOWs and red pill, and they probably think that they know the difference between red pill and MGTOW, and they really know nothing from this video. Let's continue.
Establishment, because as they're getting radicalized, they are trusting establishment media less and less. They're trusting education.
Are you going to give us the argument why we should trust CNN or anybody like you? You don't do journalism. You don't present facts. You don't present information. I haven't seen CNN present anything that was an actual study in years. And are you literally going to sit here and try to tell me that public and college education does not have any problems whatsoever? Are you seriously going to sit here and tell me, for example, that colleges have nothing to do with feminism? Lady, please, educate yourself. Get some education.
Less and less. They really liked that he represented this anti-establishment.
No, again, Trump did not represent MGTOW or red pill, and they had no interconnection, and there is no proof, there are no videos, there is no correlation that you can find on the internet. Go ahead, try to find some.
We reached out to the White House, and they declined to comment for the story.
What? That doesn't give you any proof or validation or evidence. What? And what was their question? They don't even tell us what their question was. And who did they message? And how did they message?
He is essentially the alt-right president. He's the
Do y'all want to
president belonging to that reactionary movement.
This is tough, guys. This is tough to watch.
A movement that was reactionary to, you know, all the quote-unquote...
Oh, the horrible things, the problematic. Oh, yes, yes.
...quote horrible things that Obama's done. And now you've got...
why don't you explain what people were unhappy about regarding Obama? And, again, please try to share me any actual red pill or any actual MGTOW content that had anything to do with Obama. Nothing. Nothing.
Someone who is sympathetic instead of condemning to that cause.
Okay, people like or support whatever they want.
But that movement, no...
Again, with the little horror baby blood thing.
No longer includes Josh. He metaphorically spit out the red pill.
I started realizing...
Metaphorically? So you're talking about how he, okay, spit it out, so he rejected it?
That they weren't just limiting their vitriol just to women as soon as they started targeting, like, you know, people.
Please continue with your lies regarding racism. Either you unintentionally or intentionally buy your lies here, CNN, and this supposed, probably fake person. You are racist because you're lying, because this is fake. Again, there's tons of actual black and other people who are actually MGTOW and actually red pill. This is not a one-size-fits-all thing. You can sit here and lie about everything you want from Uganda Knuckles, but you're not going to get away with it. You're just not.
Of color, and doing so rather, you know, rather harshly and egregiously, there was this very small voice in the back of my head saying, "Hey, idiot, wake up, they're talking about you."
What does he mean by that? Let's watch that again for a quick second. In the back of his head, they said they're talking about you.
Just to women, as soon as they started targeting, like, you know, people of...
Okay, so he felt, because he's possibly some kind of quote-unquote minority, that there was racism or hate targeted towards him. Again, MGTOW and red pill has nothing to do with that. but let's continue with this
rather
ridiculous story.
Rather harshly and egregiously, there was this very small voice in the back of my head saying, "Hey, idiot, wake up, they're talking about you."
Okay. Blacks did riot. Did all kinds of riots.
It's interesting you say, hey, they're talking about you.
Right.
I don't think our viewers know you're an African-American man.
Yes, and proudly so.
So how did that play out?
Proudly so? Why is it acceptable to be proudly black and not proudly white or proudly any Indian or Pakistani or Chinese or Japanese or anybody else? Why is it acceptable for some people to be proudly their race and for other people not to be proudly theirs? Heaven forbid you said you were proudly Russian.
Out in these forums.
There were a lot of other websites that would blame not only women but blaming black men like myself.
In what kind of way? Explain yourself. In what kind of way? In what kind of social discussion or issue was that talking about? You can't help people actually understand issues if you don't actually get into the issues themselves. You can at least show us a quote. You can at least tell us what the issue was about. Blaming them in what kind of way? You're not helping us. You're not helping anybody.
Was there ever a point where you heard some of this rhetoric and you believed it about yourself?
I did, actually, to my, again, eternal shame.
Eternal? So, I don't know what this guy's religious beliefs are, but they're mixing religion in this, and it's getting kind of strange.
To my embarrassment. And I was just like, okay, maybe, maybe to a degree they're...
One of these can feed a family. I'm not sure what that is. I've never seen that post. But just because somebody's implicated in something, I mean, people suggest white people are implicated in almost everything. I mean, good or bad, there's some other group of people besides white people is implicated in something. If we want to talk about social issues. So are the only people who can be negatively implicated or negatively involved in something, is it white people?
Right.
It sounds like at your low point as a black man, you were sympathetic to people being racist and saying things about you and your skin color.
I was.
And now they're going to pull on the dramatic music that makes it really scary. This isn't... Again, red pill and MGTOW has nothing to do with this. But again, there's very few people that actually hate people based off their skin color. It's often lifestyle and culture. And once we actually start understanding that, we can start getting beyond race and skin color. Because disagreements and problems and differences in lifestyle can cause people to be uncomfortable and possibly fight one another. And until we actually start openly discussing these things, we're less likely to get beyond. And again, racism has been going down for decades. There's very little racism to go around, but people act like it's rising. CNN would have you believe that racism's rising. And that's what makes them money. And that's what keeps people like the Democrats in power. It makes them more powerful. Regarding people who actually listen to them. And again, Republicans are not good either. I'm not trying to support Republicans. Republicans are dirty and they're liars in a different way. But really... And people wonder why we can't have debates on college. I mean, even if they wanted to have debates on college, people are unable, even if they're willing to, they're unable to have actual debates and discussions. Heaven forbid you have a kid in public school like his senior year, and he writes like an article, or like writes a paper on something like this.
And anonymity bred extremism.
It's certainly made things a lot easier, having to, drive back into, the backwoods and like,
CNN? You're pretty much criminals. I mean, how can you lie? How can you lie to yourself about things like this? Discussing genetics and skin color in regards to superiority is a very complex issue that we're not going to get into today. But hating people or ostracizing people in any type of way, I mean, especially because of their skin color, is horrendous and wrong. And we know that. But again, Red Pill has nothing to show. They've shown no proof. No connection to the KKK, to the Red Pill or MGTOW. And backwoods like hold campfires and say that this is ridiculous. So either you agree with society, you agree with us, or you're the bad man. You're the boogeyman. I'm sure that there's a few of these bad people out there. I don't know where they are. I don't know who they are. I live deep in the South, and they're almost extinct. And you don't want to hear about our government and society at large does not want you to know where these people came from and why they did what they did. And again, I am extremely against them. I'm against them. But society does not want you to actually know who these people were, why they actually did what they did. People talk about things like the KKK, but you don't know where they came from or what they actually believed in, what they actually did, besides, some heinous crimes, which they were heinous. They were evil, just like Hitler was evil. But why did they do the things that they did? What did they actually believe in? CNN and these types of people will talk and go in circles, but they don't know Hitler's motivations. And they don't know the KKK's motivations and what they actually believed in a religious sense or anything. And, who was behind the bad actions of the KKK. It's like, were they all bad? Some of them bad? Why did they go out and do violence? How did they start? Who started them? Who funded them? And I don't. How are people supposed to have any type of education? This is the type of education you get at colleges. I hope that you all know that if you are thinking about sending your son or daughter to college, this is the type of education they're getting. Yes, there's STEM. Yes, there's engineers and people who get degrees regarding computers, computer engineering and the like. And there is also, STEMs with biology. Some of those are complex. Some of those can be real. Doctors, somewhat real. But most other, degrees that people get from colleges do little to nothing to help them. And they're going to have a class like this. They're gonna teach these types of things, and college professors think it's their duty to convince your son or daughter to have this type of worldview right here, to believe in these kinds of things, and that they think that they understand these issues when they understand nothing about them. And again, how are we supposed to get over these issues when we continue to have them fresh in the mind? We continue to be very aware of them and discuss them, or at least pretend to discuss them, but you present no information. How are you supposed to stop or prevent bad organizations like this from starting, or bad social movements like this from starting when you don't know anything about how they actually started and what they actually did. And besides the few bad things. Anyways, let's continue.
Hold campfires and say that, you know, we're the superior race, blah, 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 blah.
See? He doesn't even understand them. And they were bad. I shouldn't have to say that. I think we all know that.
It's just made it where people can actually still retain that anonymity without having to put on a wall.
So anybody who's a troll, anybody who is anonymous, who disagrees, fights, or opens a discussion that does not support the current narrative, or possibly puts somebody or something in a bad light, that it possibly exposes something that we support, or that continues, you know, making us money, they're the most evil, despicable people. I told you this was going to get to online anonymity, or people who are anonymous online, and I was right. I was right, and I didn't want to be right. I'm sickened. I am sickened by this. This is disgusting.
White hood.
Going down the rabbit hole, spending a lot of time in these forums, what was the most surprising thing you took out of your research?
I want this to be over. I'm tired of seeing these people. It's a bit repetitive. It's a bit boring. Needs some more camera angles. And I'm tired of seeing these types of people get away with their lies. Like Kathleen Kennedy. She thinks that, like this lady right here, she thinks she's doing a great thing, and she's never actually had to work a day in her life, probably. She's never actually probably been through much of any type of struggle. Actual struggle. And she's doing great harm. Actual harm to the world.
The empathy that I ended up feeling for the men at the very beginning of getting red pilled, because they...
Okay, she has some empathy for the men in the beginning. So you don't have empathy for men at what stage? And again, they think this is progressive. They think that if you become red pill or MGTOW, that then you're going to start becoming a troll and trying to bother people and annoy people. And then they think you're going to go down this rabbit hole of becoming, you know, some extreme violent racist. That's what this lady or CNN is presenting to you today for your enjoyment.
They are frustrated, they're often lonely, they're scared, and they're trying to find their way in the world as well.
Okay, so she's trying to twist when men are emotional. When men are actually getting emotional and they're about to make a possible change, they're going to try to reach out. They're going to go on Google or go on a search somewhere. They're going to go on Reddit and they're going to type in, you know, when they're feeling emotional, just like this CNN shared, how do I get my girlfriend back? Or how to date? Or why do I keep getting rejected? Why am I in the friend zone? And whatever terminology comes up in the next 5 or 10 years. But she wants to take those men. Okay, she wants to influence them. She wants them to do something else or become something else. Let's see if she presents an actual solution. An actual solution. Is there a better way than red pill and MGTOW? Is there a better way? Is there a better way? Let's see. Let's see if she tells us anything worthwhile.
Well, but these movements are taking them in a fundamentally dangerous direction.
Okay, where's the solution? Again, you don't discuss men's issues, and you're not presenting a solution. What are men supposed to do?
It's such a
even if you disagree with them.
fascinating thing to say that you felt empathy for
It's fascinating. It's kind of like a basic human emotion.
these people, because I think it's so easy, even as women, right, to kind of shake your head and think.
So are you admitting to us that women don't have empathy, or it's easy for you not to have empathy? Because most men I know, I mean, they tell you to get up and work and do better. And they're not going to say that they have quote-unquote empathy, but most men, I think, have empathy. And most men are ready and willing to fight for women or do anything for women or die for women at the toss of a hat. I hope you understand what was just exposed to you.
Really?
They start interacting with other people in this community, and if these people have already given them advice that they trust on dating and on women, then they're going to be more willing to listen.
Okay, here we go with the pattern of... just a pattern of trust or acceptance, just like anything else in the world. Here we go again.
To them on issues of race and sexuality.
As we dig into our own realities, perhaps the most fascinating way to look in the mirror is by sitting across from someone on the other side.
I guess part of me sitting across someone who spent so many years angry at women, just because I want to do great in my career, I want to do these great things, that doesn't mean that...
That's not the issue. She has no empathy. I'm sick of this. Give me a second. This woman claims to understand or also have empathy. And now this is the way that it is presented that women are going to go about changing or helping red pill or MGTOW men or changing men. That they're simply going to say they understand. They're simply going to say something like what this woman just said. I understand, or I feel you, and that I'm quote unquote like with you or something like that. And you're not going to fix any of the problems. You're not going to fix any of the laws. You're not going to fix any of the crimes, the theft against men. You're not going to make things fair regarding divorces. You're not going to, you know, you're going to continue to undermine our legal system. So men are given less fair, you know, trials. And you're going to continue... you know, continue on your warpath as a woman. That's what this kind of that is what this kind of woman is like. And I'm tired of this. Yeah, I understand. It's just tiring. It's just mentally exhausting. Because I have to see this and hear this 100,000 times. And they beat you down with this type of narrative.
You don't have to have that for you.
I understand that.
You don't have to have this for you, okay. So, they're trying to frame it in this of like release type of attitude. Like, you can just release your pain. Like, you just release your hurt. And sure, I mean, you don't have to cling on to it. It doesn't have to become a part of your identity. That's not what MGTOW is or red pill. It's not hanging on or becoming a part, you know, accepting pain and it becoming a part of who you are. It has nothing to do with red pill and MGTOW. I mean, but there is an actual, when you actualize this and you realize that people have lied to you and betrayed you, and intentionally or unintentionally, there is something that they didn't mention, which they're referring to here, called the red pill rage. And why wouldn't you be angry? And one of the strongest things that has ever been in human history, especially as far as emotion for change, is anger. And of course, some people are allowed to have anger. Some people are allowed to express that anger. Some people are allowed to make mottos and skits and paint on sidewalks and get government funding, and they're angry. But some people aren't. It's just called hypocrisy, and that's why people regularly talk about this hypocrisy. MGTOW people are not telling people to become more angry. Red pill people are not telling you to internalize your anger. When you go through an actualization, a feeling of great betrayal. I mean, I went through this and any man should, in all kinds of different ways. In regards to a religion, I realized, and I was angry because I had been lied to about all kinds of different things regarding my religion. I felt like I was lied regarding public schools because public schools didn't help me learn anything that I need to learn, and did not prepare me for a decent life in any way. Colleges were the same way. They did not prepare me for my career, my job, and I was one of the most intelligent and hardworking of any student that I'd ever seen at the college, and I impressed many professors. But you can let something like that become a part of your identity, but I mean, even if it is a reference point, you don't let it consume you. You don't let it become you don't have to let anger be something but it can be something that motivates you. A lot of great things were built. A lot of great technologies were built. A lot of people did amazing things and changed a lot of things because of anger. So I'm not trying to say we all need to be angry. I'm just tired of this with CNN and these liars and these kinds of people who present anger as something truly bad or something truly evil, something that we need to get rid of. When they support anger, they intentionally try to trigger people, like in this video. They intentionally they openly supported mobs and violence. But anybody who they don't like and they don't support and who they think is quote-unquote problematic, they don't want you to have any type of anger. And again, being a mob or being violent is not the best way to go about things. It's not. Even if you are in the right. And again, I'm not supporting the right. I meant if you're justified. Maybe that's a better word to use. Anyways, he's going to act like a weight was taken off his shoulders. He's already used a little bit of religious jargon. And I think that they do this because, just like Chuck Schumer did and some of these people, they like to use a little bit of religious jargon because they would like to mix up or cause chaos and try to take away or undermine, religions, whether it be Catholic or, different Protestant religions, Christianity, whatever.
No. But the problem is that that a lot of these guys believe the propaganda that...
Their propaganda? This video isn't propaganda? If women take over, men are going to be slaves. Are they not slaves already? Are men not paying more taxes? Are the governments not created to benefit women in every interaction? More taxes funding goes to women. Women get all kinds of government benefits through the businesses, through the government itself. There's all kinds of medical, benefits for women that men don't get. It's a proven fact that women are much more expensive to take care of than men. It's much more expensive. They've done studies on it. And things like that. Whether we're going to get to the point where we're slaves or not, that's just been a discussion point. But it looks like we're getting there. Governments are trying to make men less masculine, and they're also trying to make them have less power. How far again like this video, CNN, actual propaganda here from CNN. At what point do we stop, or at what point is there equality enough for feminists or to feminists? At what point do you stop and say, okay, Well, we're going to, disperse these benefits and programs equally among men and women. At what point do you do that? At what point do you stop your research programs to make men less masculine, reduce their testosterone? At what point do you stop, your hiring practices that favor women? At what point do you stop your, your money and all kinds of programs, like for college, for example, where it's like 60 or 70% of, money that is out there for, somebody to get college money. It's for women, to get into college or to support them. That type of funding. And that's why I think on average 70% of college students are women. That means out of every 10 students, 7 are women and 3 are men. How long do you want to keep that up? Or how or at what kind of pace, or for how long, or how long does this have to happen, and how much more radical changes are you going to make to quote unquote make this situation more equal? I'm curious, because if we continue down this road, men are going to be given hard-working jobs with their hands. They're not going to be allowed into any type of higher level position. We're getting to the point where men aren't, allowed, into different types of jobs. Or they're looked highly down upon if they are in such positions. And every single time there is a job opening, of course it has to be a woman. Or it has to be somebody who's not, quote-unquote, white. So at what point do we stop? Is it when we're all the same shade of color? Is it at the point where we're all speaking the same language? Is it at the point where we all make the same amount of money? I mean, do you see what I'm getting at? These people don't talk about their goals or their initiatives, and don't talk about how to actually help people or understand actual issues, and they can lie and frame things like CNN has here, and they can essentially be grifters and make all the money in the world that they want, and they're never going to be held responsible. And like this video here today countering them, YouTube's probably not going to support it. It's probably going to be shut down, kept down. It's probably not going to get 1 million views. It's probably going to be demonetized. And lots of people are going to dislike me. And again, this video did not talk about why people want to be anonymous. And some people have accused me of trying to hide my face. I'm not afraid of defending myself. I have tools, and I know how to defend myself, but some people think that is problematic. Some people have openly, world leaders now, I believe Macron did, but he openly opposed people who defended themselves. We're not even talking about property. People who defended their own lives are now told that they're evil for defending their own lives. And we're not even talking about property now. Don't even get me started on that. But at what point have your battles been won? And at what point do we go to the next big thing? This is the kind of stuff that worries me. It's like, how are we going to get to other planets? How are we going to develop starships and huge, I mean, not huge necessarily, but amazing technologies that allow us to travel across the stars. And, you know, how are we supposed to do any of this if we're all still fighting for breadcrumbs because of extremely, extremely abusive people, or, you know, extremely manipulative people like CNN or groups or agencies? This is the kind of stuff that worries me. I'll just put that out there.
If women take over, men are going to be slaves. That's not it. I've learned that.
So this guy thinks that women are not trying to take away or disenfranchise him in any way. Good luck, buddy. I hope I don't see you in divorce court.
How are you doing now? You okay?
Well, I've still got a long way to go. There's still a lot more of deprogramming, I guess you could say.
So now he acts like he's programmed. What is considered programming and what's not? It's another scary word. Programming. What's considered programming or not? The funny thing is, people like CNN will use things like Elmo and Sesame Street and kids programming to influence your kids. And again, I'm not trying to take a side with Democrats and Republicans. Both have been very bad, and both we need to completely get rid of them, if you know anything about actual American history. But when you put people like Michelle Obama in front of kids with Sesame Street with, like, you know, cute little puppets and their favorite characters, and you influence things like this. Do not even get me started on the Disney Channel. What is considered programming or not? He's a grown man who, it's not like he walked into some shrine and they took away his agencies and they forced him to go through some kind of program. You know, some kind of training. He interacted with people, he read things, he thought about things, and he chose to either believe or not believe something. Sounded like he didn't even take any real action in his life. Any kind of action. Which, I'll make a video perhaps on what kind of actions you do need to make in your life to change. Anyways, let's continue.
We used to program the internet.
Yes, more censorship, more control. That's exactly what CNN wants. CNN, you're evil.
Now the question, is it programming us?
So what, CNN, let me ask you a few more questions before we wrap this up. If the internet is programming us, is this some lazy way to attack YouTube and the internet at large because you are becoming obsolete and unneeded and unwanted? Because you as a news organization continues to fail the public, and your people no longer want newspapers or no longer even want to watch national news on the TV? Or is CNN, is this a way to, again, try to push the narrative, which I know it is, but it probably is the first thing as well, where you're not only obsolete, CNN, you're playing tango with you who you think is the winning team. You really don't care about who's right or wrong. You just want money. You want to tear down the internet, control, regulate the internet, put yourself on top. You already infiltrated YouTube. You already made some kind of giant brand deal with YouTube. You're promoted on top of real news people who actually put in the research, who actually put in the time, who are actually relatable, and are actually open in their discussions. I don't think there's, I saw somebody who recently made a video about companies that need to be salvaged. You know, some can be saved from these people who have infiltrated some of these organizations, but some have been rotten so long, and they're so controlled. They regulate who gets in. CNN is not worth saving. I mean, I don't care if it hurts the American economy. I'm not watching you, and I'm not going to support you. Nobody should. This is lazy content. This is stupid content. This is irrelevant content. And you have failed in any type of way of sharing actual information.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Divided we code? Is this some kind of play? Decode? Is this some kind of play on learn to code when a bunch of people lost their jobs and they were told to learn coding? You know, computer coding? Or is this something else? Divided we code? Okay, I don't think there's anything else that... No. Nothing else comes on the screen. So are they trying to say that this should be like together we decode something, like understand and take something apart? Together we code. So they're... All I can see potentially is that is a call to try to rewrite or reframe or re-engineer the internet in a very biased, controlled, you know, progressive type of way. Is it? I know what CNN is, and I've been very aware of what CNN is, and people like this for a long time. And the very few times like this here today, where I decided to sit down and have a discourse and a discussion and interaction with you here today, I realize again who the actual people are, you know, behind the scenes, and what their message is, and how actually dangerous that they are. And these people do not want you to have a free exchange of ideas on the internet, through your text, on your cell phone, through your calls. They want to have a Chinese social credit system where you are judged and analyzed and categorized and given certain, you know, restrictions or privileges based on how good of a person you are or how bad of a person you are. That is the future that these kinds of people want. They want a technological world of extreme control and regulation and power. And I'm not trying to be a doomsday person here. I'm just saying a lot of you know the truth. And a lot of you are aware of what's actually going on. And I hope that I've opened your eyes to who these people are. Because when they lie about what MGTOW and the red pill actually is, they're actually essentially protecting themselves and furthering their own agenda. They can spin anything in a way they want that makes, you know, them seem as the good guys, as their goals and their narratives as what's needed, and twist that into their narrative, because it doesn't serve them very well if they were actually honest and actually sat down and discussed something that you know, didn't indirectly or covertly support their own narratives, wants, and goals. So I'll be making a video directly about CNN and why I made this one of my first full feature videos. I felt like I needed to do this to help people out there, because people are being lied to in all kinds of different ways. They don't understand these issues, and I know we're very limited on time. Some people do not want to go out there and do their own research. And if you're not going to be a person who thoroughly does your own research, who goes to multiple sources of information, and you would need to at least have a very critical mind of what you're watching, and then be willing to at least go to a few sources. If you watch this video like CNN, their video, or any of these types of people's content, and you just trust them, you're not educated, and you're probably not very open-minded. Anyways, I think that's all I can take for today. That's all I can take. I want to wish you a very good day. I do want to leave this on a high note, because this can be a very discouraging video. Seeing an organization like CNN present something that was kind of controversial in such a dark way. I wouldn't say it's unsettling. It didn't frighten me or anything, but they certainly know how to play their game. And it did have a dark tone to it, and that's what they wanted. They wanted you to feel, unsettled or possibly disgusted. So I want to say, you as men and people in general, please start to do your own research. Even though it's getting hard to find real information, do your research. Multiple sources, even sources that you highly disagree with. Go for the stats, go for the facts, the statistics, and think about things in a rational way. Don't let anybody get you wrapped up in emotion, because MGTOW doesn't try to get you wrapped up in emotion. Red Pill doesn't either. MGTOW doesn't tell you to go get the Red Pill rage. MGTOW doesn't tell you to go get angry. They don't. They never have. I don't think they ever will. But it's something that's a natural fallout. And it's kind of a natural reaction. But when people are emotional, people are more likely to act on impulse. They're more likely to make changes to their lives, more likely to be influenced or influenceable, vulnerable. And just like CNN said, and that's what they've done here. But of course, I mean, some people aren't going to be open-minded. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed my video here today. I think that I think we do have a bright future. I think we have tons of potential. I know that we can change the world for a better place. But again, I'm not even MGTOW, and we'll make a video on what MGTOW even is. But MGTOW is men going their own way, and I guess you could say my content's red pill. But I simply, I know that men can have good lives, even though things are tough, extremely tough. And it's not. I mean, the world's not out there to get you, but there's an awful lot of men and women who believe that you're bad, and they are out to get you in a way. Not everybody, but a lot. Especially if you live in, somewhere like Los Angeles. But you have lots of opportunities in front of you. Don't ever limit yourself. Hold yourself back, waiting for somebody to give you the say-so. Somebody saying it's okay. Somebody saying that, oh, you as, if you're white or, this type of person, or if you're too masculine, you should have this job. And Don't let them create that type of future. And don't let them do that kind of thing to your own life. If somebody says that, you know, is annoyed that you're a bachelor, or annoyed that you just don't date a lot of women, don't let them control you. Don't let them shame you. You know, don't let people change you. You choose how you want to change. In fact, you change society if you want to. And again, women do have lots of power, have all kinds of power. What's wrong with men having some of their own power? I mean, hey, I thought this was about equality. Anyways, have a beautiful day, my friends. Daddy Knows Best channel. I'll see you soon. Have a wonderful day. And let me know if you have any questions down below. Please like, comment, subscribe, all those good things. I'll see you in the next video. We're going to be much more positive in some of our other videos. This might be the most negative video I ever make. And I don't really like making these videos that are, I don't know, opposite commentary on negative types of content. But I did want to try it at least once. Do at least one of them to see how I felt about it. And I think it'd be better, like I thought in the beginning, to make a channel focused on moving forward instead of combating or opposing the evil or the dangerous or the quote-unquote problematic of our day. I think that there's a lot of that, and maybe there's enough of that. So I want to move forward, and I want to help men actually know how to move forward. So, anyways, I wish you a beautiful day. Have a beautiful one. I'll see you soon in the next video. I'm gonna try to start uploading at least 3 times a week. I'll see you soon, and bye.